Whatever driver today feels most at one with the car will deliver the best lap time.
And what's really unique about W Series is, like we said before, it's a level playing field in terms of this. So they share mechanics. They've got one chief mechanic that looks after all of the cars. But in terms of their actual liveries and the cars that they are race. So they'll have a car for this weekend, which was the same actually they had out in testing. However, once we go to the next weekend and onwards and onwards and onwards, they have to change their car each time.
Well, anyone that has got engineering experience or knowledge will know that even with the most exact engineering, there are tolerances, and those tolerances, if they're all working in your favour, can give you one engine with slightly more power or one car that just feels a little bit more together aerodynamically. So the W Series organisers under Dave Ryan, incredibly experienced man from Formula One, he was at McLaren for many years with Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost and many of the great world champions. So he wants this to be a reflection of driver talent. He just wants to take that conversation out as to, oh, that car there has maybe got a slight advantage. I've lived with it my entire life, from karting right through to cars. So we're eliminating that, and over the course of the 6 races, then it should be as neutralised as possible. So
the cars are in the pit lane, and Ted Kravitz is also down there.
Hello, Claire. Yes, welcome to a brisk pit lane here at the Hockenheim ring, and conditions really challenging for the drivers. I can tell you that there are brand new wet tyres on all of the cars. They only have 2 sets of tyres, of wet tyres, available for the whole weekend. They got through 1 set in free practice 2 yesterday, but really it was a decision really made by the drivers with their engineers to put a brand new set on. That might mean that we get some quit laps early on. But we'll have to see as to how the weather goes. I've got to tell you, just on the weather, it hasn't rained now for a minute or so. It's just starting to ease up now, so maybe we will get some quicker lap times as the session goes on. As for a little form guide, you've been mentioning Jamie Chadwick. Certainly she's the one to watch. Emma Kimmelainen and Fabienne Volvend as well. The Liechtenstein driver from just about 150 miles away from where we are in Hockenheim as well. She's gone well in the wet so far. Watch out for her.
Clock ticking down then. 25 minutes was on the clock. We have already lost a minute of time as the cars have head out onto the track now. Interesting there, Emma Kimmelainen not going out just yet, waiting, being told before she can go out. But obviously they're all going out now and just doing their outlaps. Yeah, well, this might be a strategic decision between Emma and her engineer, where she's wanting the main pack, the main body of cars to go ahead, try and clear a little bit the racetrack and then get some clean air. And you know, you're dealing in these sort of damp conditions. Spray is an issue. Clearing spray from your visor is an issue. That's, you know, anyone who's raced or been on a motorcycle knows just how challenging that is. So you definitely want to try and make sure you've got some clear space. So this is again where experience will shine through, and Emma is certainly one of the more experienced racers out there. Absolutely, as you can see, cars starting to make their way around. Jamie Chadwick, we've mentioned a couple of times, fastest in practice. Does she think, though, would she be thinking now the pressure's on her? She's done the job in 2 sessions, and now pole position ahead of the first ever W Series race. Is that, as a driver, I mean, I would then start to fluff, but I don't drive, so that's the point. Yeah, well, I think that she'll be in race mode right now. You know, visor closed as you go out on track, and it's a world of opportunity. That's where racers want to be, and pushing the limits, discovering the racetrack. Of course, we will all prefer to be in dry conditions in terms of, you know, really exploiting the performance of a slick tyre and the overall downforce. Let's hear it from Marta Garcia. We should be very shortly be able to hear from the car. Lovely.
The tires, they are cold and new. Be careful. Warm the tires.
Marta Garcia there, well, it wasn't her, obviously her engineer having a chat with her. Didn't quite catch what he said, did you hear it? Yeah, it was about warming the tyres. So again, she'll be aware of that. But there's certain comfort calls from engineers to drivers, which is just about making sure they've got their mind focused on the job. But interestingly, just looking at the track map, so the first car we see out there leading them round is Fabienne Volvend, and she has got a bit of clean air to really get a sight on this track. We've got Jamie Chadwick running 3rd on track behind Naomi Schiff. So 3 experienced racers there have gone out first to really try and, you know, lay down the gauntlet. Driver we haven't spoken about much is Beitske Visser, who is out on track as well, just in front of Jamie Chadwick there, as we see. Fastest first sector from Jamie Chadwick. she's another driver that has got a lot of experience behind her, and she was one of the drivers within testing, as we see a little, she's just warming up her tyres still there, Jamie. We saw Bajtska Vista taking a very different line from some of the other drivers. She was hugging the curbs, and she was really putting everything into what she could try and get out of this car.
Yeah, well, she's got good experience, and she's certainly not short of confidence. In her mind, this championship's trophy's got her name on it. Well, I think she's going to have a few competitors who are definitely going to apply some pressure. As we see, one of the
yellow
the cars
flags for
there.
Shea Holbrook.
Yeah, she's had a little excursion already, but no damage to the car. Really tricky conditions when you're trying to take the shine off a new set of tyres, and then down into the hairpin there at turn 13. So drivers just trying to get a feel for where the car is. So you can see that lock-up from Jamie as she rides into the hairpin in the infield here in turn 13, working the wheel. Look how tricky the conditions are as she fights that car. That does not look like a driver at one with the vehicle, and you've got to get the heat into the tyres, and you can do that from radiating temperature from the discs, so getting heat into the brakes, and then of course creating friction across the surface into that tyre and getting the compound switched on. This is something that any racer in any formula is well aware of.
You could really see her visibly struggling with it, trying to keep it on track. We've not actually seen Jamie like that yet, and we've not seen many of the drivers. So, like you mentioned, they've been out on track for 5 minutes now, as you see Bajtska Vista set the fastest time, but still way off the pace of what we saw yesterday, as you would expect at this point. But with the replay here, you can almost see her trying to fight to keep that car on track.
Yeah, trying to get the tyres switched on, getting a feel for where the grip is, and these early laps, they know that the quickest time, unless it was to rain, is not going to come right now. It's going to come as the session evolves, and you know, as you say, Bajtska has set the opening time for everyone to go chasing. A number of drivers still haven't completed a timed lap, so you certainly don't, within a 25-minute qualifying session, have too much time to dilly-dally.
Absolutely you don't. A 2-minute 6.6 then for Bajtska Vista. Like we said, we saw 1:56, I believe, from Jamie Chadwick in the practice session. We're going to see faster laps than this, aren't we?
Well, we are, but day to day, it's always a little bit tricky to compare times, even in dry running, because it's so sort of temperature and that day in history dependent. But we saw that the wet laps yesterday were about 18 seconds slower than what they've been doing in dry running. So yeah, a sizable drop-off in performance, but you know, they're running on the Hankook tyre, which is the same rubber that the DTM Championship is running on. So that's actually a good thing, because it means that when they're running in dry conditions, that the actual rubber that they're riding across is already, you know, there's been extra laps there set down by the DTM cars. Of course, all of that gets wiped clean when you're in wet conditions, and you'll see the drivers trying to run off the classic racing line as they search for grip.
Oh, so I was about to say Fabian Volvend set the fastest lap. Oh, as we see, is that Fabian Volvend just going a little bit wide there? Yes, it is. Yeah, rejoining the track now. That was at turn 1 into 2, I believe, because she had just set her lap time. So I think she was probably under a little bit of pressure from Bajtska Vista behind. She probably heard, you went fastest, Bajtska Vista is now fastest, and now Jamie Chadwick has set the fastest lap around this circuit. Yeah. Alice Powell moves up to 4th.
We're going to see the times continually drop, but the actual drivers are exploring the circuit, finding out where the grip is, and they've got a little bit of their eye in from wet running yesterday. But again, I think it's colder today, certainly for me. The feeling is colder, so that makes it that bit trickier to get those tyres switched on.
It is absolutely
got a spinner.
It is Shea Holbrook again, struggling, really struggling. She struggled through her practice sessions yesterday, and she's not. Oh, I thought she was going to take out the one of the tyre advertising boards then. Struggling once again for Shea. She's just really not making anything work for her this weekend, unfortunately. Yeah,
it's a really strange feeling when you're trying to get tyres into their operating window. When they are, it just feels like there's a world of grip, even in these sort of conditions. When they're out of their operating temperature window, you can't get any speed to get them warmed up. So Shea right now struggling, and every time she has those little spins, not running, of course, and losing further temperature from the tyres. So that's down.
There we go.
I think that's turn 8. Oof. And a little bit off track there through the grass, but there'll be no damage done to the car. little bit extra cleaning up for the engineer and mechanics afterwards, but she just needs to get back on track as quick as possible.
So that was Shea Holbrook struggling there, and she's a driver with a lot of experience behind her. She's a 7-time winner of the Pirelli World Championship, so she's well known for winning things at the moment. So it's an odd one as Jamie Chadwick once again sets the fastest first and second sector. I think I'm just trying to work out what's going on with Shea. It would be great to see if we can speak to her, between now and the race and see if she's feeling a bit more confident. But Ted, you've got an update on Naomi Schiff.
Yeah, so the home driver, the German driver Naomi Schiff, currently down in 14th place. As you have a replay here, Claire, of
Jamie Chadwick.
Keeping very nice control through there. But yeah, Schiff currently down in 14th place and showed better than this really in the wet conditions yesterday. Problem is she's been stuck in a bit of traffic, has now had to drop back from Emma Kymäläinen to actually get some clear track, and that's affecting quite a few of the drivers out there. They're just bunched up behind other drivers in front of them and lacking the visibility they need to get a clear lap. So Schiff has dropped back a bit. She should be able to make some progress up the field from here.
So Jamie Chadwick is set another fastest lap around this circuit. She's done a 2-minute 1, which is again still less than what we had yesterday.
But crucially, quicker than anyone else.
Yes.
So that's what it's all about.
Sarah Moore's gone 4th fastest. Yes, she has. So, but she's still about 3 seconds off Jamie Chadwick's fastest lap. That's quite impressive from Jamie Chadwick.
Yep, Kymäläinen there popping up into second. Yeah, Jamie has just owned this racetrack so far through free practice, and she's doing exactly the same here in qualifying.
P4, 1.4 seconds off. P4, 1.4 seconds off.
Yeah, we hear the race engineer for Emma Kymäläinen there, keeping her informed. What I always think's cute about motorsport, we still have pit boards that we hang over, very analog way of informing the drivers when we've got the radio updates available. Jamie Chadwick there running a little bit slower as she's either cooling her tyres or looking for a bit of clean air ahead. She has a sizable advantage over Kymäläinen right now. She
actually set the fastest first sector, so I don't know if she had a problem coming into the second sector as she was down. So yeah. I think maybe she was on a fast lap and she maybe had an issue somewhere and came off the throttle a bit.
Yeah, but it's not unusual in these conditions that it changes so much lap to lap that you think, okay, what I learned last time, I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker in that area, and then if you under-rotate a wheel, then it can send you down an escape road. So she's backed out of it right now, but she'll start another flying lap.
So watching a replay here, car number 7.
That's Emma.
Emma Kymäläinen. My brain went completely then. Emma Kymäläinen, of course. What she was talked to earlier in her ears, is there ever too much information you can get at this point? Because there is a point where we've got 13 minutes left on the clock and you want to go, actually, do you know, just leave me to it, I'm all right.
Well, there is an element of that, and every driver's different, and all the personalities out there are different, of course, and we've seen that through the selection process and the early testing, and some are more fiery and reactive than others. Historically, and I've got a bit of experience of Finnish teammates with Hakkinen and Räikkönen, they tend to take a lot to get them sounding overly excited on the radio. So Emma Kymäläinen has good experience and was certainly quick in certainly top 3 in wet running yesterday, and she's able to deliver that again today. But yeah, there'll be others who just can't handle the information from the engineers as well as sort of focusing on the racetrack, but that's the same in any other formula.
Still 4 tenths behind Jamie Chadwick, though, Emma Kymäläinen, as Sarah Moore sets her 3rd fastest lap. She's 4 tenths behind Emma Kymäläinen, but still quite a pace off Jamie Chadwick.
Yeah, but now Emma's got that gap down to 4 tenths.
P3.
No, that team radio.
I have no power, my turbo is not working.
Okay, so Bicycle is saying she's got no power, her turbo's not working, so she's coming into the pits now.
Absolutely, I was going to say, when that information came through P3, she'd already slipped down to 4th, so that is a worrying information for her race engineer. But what's great about that, she was very specific. She's not going, oh, I have an engine problem, because then the engineer is going to try and have to work out what it is.
So the engineers have obviously picked up Beitske Visser. Ted, have you got an update?
I have, yeah. Beitske Visser just in front of me here in the pit lane. Now, 11 minutes left in this session, just over 11 minutes. So this is going to be quite a quick fix if the guys from Auto Tecnica Motori, it's an Alfa Romeo engine, Italian engine in the back of these cars. They're actually just connecting the laptop to the back of to the car now. The engine cover's coming off, and they're going to see if there's a quick fix. Sometimes, as you know, Claire and DC, you can get little software resets that will cure these problems quite quickly. Obviously, if it is a mechanical problem with that engine, then it will take longer. But poor Beitske Visser just shaking her head in the car as she realizes that this might be it for the qualifying session. But not a bad spot so far, P6, and it is raining more, so maybe we've had the best of the conditions.
Good to know. Did not know it was raining. I can't see any rains on from looking out the window, but I'm going to trust you, Ted, because you've got your umbrella out. Beitske Visser is going to be fuming at that. It's not her fault, and it's not the team's fault. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if in doubt, it's down to the racing gods, isn't it? And the Alfa Romeo engine has run very reliably through free practice and all of the preparation coming to the weekend. So let's hope it is as simple as Control-Alt-Delete on the computer and do a little reset and get her back out on track.
That never works for me, Control-Alt-Delete. Fabian Volvend comes across the line now. Hasn't set much of a blistering lap in terms of, well, there you go, I was going to say she was fighting with it, but it hasn't gone faster, so I could see she was down on the sector. So she goes to second. She is absolutely determined to get pole position, isn't she? I'm sure they all are, but however, from what I just saw from her driving style then,
yeah, she was working the wheel as she came out of turn 13 in the stadium section and struggling to get traction on the track. Now, single-seater racing cars, for those who are watching, as we've got a spinner there, that's 67.
It's Shea Holbrook again.
Yeah, Shea is just having a really, really difficult time. She is down currently in 18th place and not in a happy place at all with the balance of her car, so we'll look forward to catching up with her afterwards, as we saw
Fabian Volvend here.
Yeah, and well, this is where we're going to see a lot of steering action as she powers out of turn 13. And so for those who are tuning into motor racing for the very first time, those pretty wings at the front of the car and the rear of the car, they're not just there for carrying sponsor decals, they generate downforce, and a race car is like an inverted aircraft, and instead of creating lift and taking up into the sky, it creates load through those wings, through the chassis, and pushes the car down into the ground, and that's where you get the impressive corner speeds. I would say a little bit slower in wet conditions because you just don't have the contact patch and the amount of grip, as anyone will be familiar. But these are serious racing cars. Formula 3 race cars, 270 horsepower from that Alfa Romeo engine. And I know things move on, but that's a full 100 horsepower more than when I was in Formula 3. So, yeah, these are serious bits of kit for the competitors to deal with.
Well, the first female and youngest person to ever win a British Formula 3 race is in provisional pole position at the moment. She's just set the fastest first sector again, that seems to have backed off on this, as we see Fabian Volvend getting all out of shape.
Yeah, that's just in 2 corners from the end. And that stadium section, as I mentioned, has got different tarmac, and you struggle a little bit for the grip, and she just overran a little bit as she went through the middle of 16 and to the other side of the curb. The curbs are painted with a sort of grip paint, but it just doesn't have the same feeling of grip when you go onto the white lines in the curbs. So not such an issue, of course, in dry running. And you can see Jamie Chadwick through turn 1 getting out onto the exit curve, but still very impressive times here. She just improved to 59.8.
She's starting to get a little bit closer to her practice time now, so obviously the track, well, Ted said the track was starting to dry, but if the rain's coming back down, which on the cameras over there it looks like it might be, we should see the times go the other way, shouldn't we?
Well, it's a funny one actually. When you go from wet conditions into damp conditions, you're just getting quicker until the point where you get greasy conditions. And then it's actually a little bit difficult because you end up in a situation where there isn't enough water to cool the compound. And then, of course, if it dries, you want to get in and get some slick tyres on. But we're not going to see anything other than wet tyres in this session. You've just got to build the experience, build the knowledge of the racetrack, and try and keep your tyres in shape to get the lap time and on the board. And as we're on following there, Fabian.
They put it back together. We may get a couple of laps.
So Beitske Visser being told she might get a couple more laps. Ted?
Yeah, just standing right by the car, and can see that they had to take the airbox off to fix the problem, but good news is that they've actually put the airbox back on again, and now the engine is coming back on. So yeah, that looks like that's pretty accurate and good for Beitske, and she will get a couple of runs, it looks like at the moment, out there. But of course the proof will be in the driving. We'll see if that problem is fixed for good. But yeah, pretty steady rain, I've got to say, for the last 5 minutes, Claire. But as the tyres come in and the drivers get a bit more confidence, we're still seeing some quick times.
Well, that steady rain, Ted, seems to be not affecting the potential out there. Jamie Chadwick has just improved her time further to a 59.2, and we also get the information up here in the comm box where her theoretical best is a 59.1. So she's really close to maximising her potential, and she's got a massive gap to Fabian in second place. So she really is proving to be the rainmaster so far.
So we've got just under 5.5 minutes left of this qualifying session. Let's see what we can do from here. Jamie Chadwick once again dominating this session here. Fabian Volven not ready to give it up just yet. Emma Kymäläinen showing she's got pace out there in third at the moment.
Well, surprises for me looking at the running order. Down in 16th, you can see Miki Koyama, the Japanese driver. And she was the winner of her very early selection process, Race of Champions in damp conditions, but not finding the comfort zone in this session. We've also, just looking down, Jessica Hawkins has just managed to improve, starting to find her feet. She struggled a little bit in the wet conditions yesterday. And,
which was surprising because she's a stunt car driver, and we said she went off at 13 as well, Sebastian Vettel's favourite place around this circuit. We were surprised actually, because I said, oh, she's got great car control, and then she brought out a red flag.
Yeah, you know, you would think with all that experience in those super slippy conditions, then she'd be at 1. But you've got to feel that the car is an extension of your body. You get strapped into it. And down at turn 13, see a car leaving the track into the gravel.
That is Megan Gilkes.
Megan Gilkes, the Canadian, one of our youngest competitors, only 18. I believe she's studying engineering. Yeah, she's an engineering student, and she said that she was the least experienced of all of them. However, she's been quite impressive in terms of other practice sessions. What is easy at the moment, that's Volven just getting a little bit out of shape there. She's very
fighting
out of shape
to keep it on the track. We've seen that a couple of times from her now. Yeah, well, she's knows this is what really counts. Again, Jamie Chadwick improving her fastest lap to a 58.8, and by my reckoning that is what, just under 2 seconds quicker than Fabian. So really impressive stuff from Jamie Chadwick. That was good maths. That was very quick. Thanks
maths. For that. Yeah, you see, I sort of went around just under 2 seconds. Around under 2 seconds. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm fine with that. We've got looks like Alice Powell has come off there, and she's stuck into the gravel. Turn 13 again. That's where we saw them all having difficulty, and that almost looks like a replay of for the hardcore Formula One fans. That's where Sebastian Vettel binned it last year in the Formula One Grand Prix, and you can see her frustration. The red flag is out, and I believe we will not see any further times this afternoon. So as she gets out of the car, I am pretty confident we can start declaring that as our first grid. Yeah, I think we can as well. I'm going to wait till we get confirmation from race control. Ted, have you got an update?
Yeah, certainly everybody's packing up here in the pit lane. All the engineers, all the mechanics are ready to receive their cars. So Alice Powell, who had a very good session actually up to this point. So P6 on the grid it will be. Looks like there's no significant damage to her car, which is good for her. So she will be able to line up. Yeah, just seen a replay, Ted, here. Yep. Yeah, down in the braking zone. Let's just see front left under rotation. So Ted, as if you're seeing that as well, a classic mistake down at 13, and well, I've been in that very gravel myself. We could call it DC gravel. Thank you for that, Ted. Alice Powell there, she went into the gravel, and you just become a passenger at that point, don't you? Yeah, it's unusual on modern racetracks, don't tend to have gravel, but I actually think it's a good thing, because there is a bigger penalty. If you have tarmac runoff, you can make mistakes and come back on, and there isn't as much consequence. Where here, you just know one mistake, you're more likely going to get beached
as you go on the underbelly of the car. But as the cars are now recovered by the engineers and mechanics in the pit lane, well, Alice will be frustrated, but she still has a good opportunity to start from 6th place this afternoon.
She does indeed. She was the first woman to score any points in GP3 back in 2012. So she's used to single-seaters. She's used to racing cars similar to this specification. These are Formula 3 cars. But, I mean, yeah, like you said, she's going to be very frustrated. Jamie Chadwick.
Great job, Jamie, great job. P1, 58.8, and the second, she's in 2 minutes, 2:06, the second.
Jamie Chadwick getting the... yeah. Very happy just at the end. So Jamie Chadwick has taken pole position here for the first W Series race. That must be the thing where you think, oh, thank you for the red flag. You know, you've got it. Even though she was, you know, she was getting faster and faster going around this circuit, there is part of you that goes, it's a shame for us, but there's a part of her that will go, okay, fine, I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Competitive spirit. You want to use what the racetrack has delivered you, and there's a mistake made and time runs out. Then she was consistently quickest all the way through. Really dominant performance, and looking at the sectors, a full second quicker than anyone in that final tricky sector, and that's where we saw her at the very beginning of the session, really working the wheel, trying to discover the car as much as possible.
So Jamie Chadwick comes back to her engineers. She'll probably be quite happy about that. She's quite a subdued driver sometimes. She tends to be more laid back in terms of how she views things, and she'll probably be very happy, and then she'll ask to see all of the data, knowing that.
Well, that's the great thing about this championship. All of the data is open to each of the competitors, and as you mentioned before, Claire, they'll change cars and engineers for the next race. So to try and make it as fair as is possible, and well, they all had equal opportunity there, and Jamie was the one that used her experience to great effect.
So Jamie Chadwick there, graphic saying Fabian, but that's fine. We know it's Jamie. She's got there's rules. You have to put your, she has to get out. Obviously, they've got the specification of the halo now, and you know, they have to put the steering wheel back. Results then from qualifying for race 1. Jamie Chadwick taking pole position around this Hockenheim circuit. Fabian Volvent second. A good performance from her today. Sarah Moore's going to be pleased with her 3rd place on the grid. Emma Kimiläinen struggled. I think the red flag also stopped her from maybe getting a bit higher. Finished 4th. Marta Garcia was a silent one there, but managed to get 5th. Alice Powell will start 6th on the grid despite the red flag. Vicky Periot 7th. Weizke Visser 8th after having problems. Rounding up the top 10 would be we've got Esme Hawke and Gosia Redest. And then we've got Hawkins, Wood, Cook, Giltz, Schiff, Pepper, Koyama and Shea Holbrook, who had not the day to remember, rounding up the top 18 drivers. David Coulthard alongside me. We're going to talk this through, surely. Is there anyone that surprised you within that?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, not by Jamie out front, and let's say the top 5 or 6. They've all shown great pace through the pre-practice sessions, but I've got to say, Naomi Schiff down at 15th, I expected more from her using her experience, so that is, she'll not be at all happy with that. Esme Hawke down in 9th as well. I suspect that, well, racers, they all want to be on pole, so she won't be happy with that, but there is the competitor that has set the pace here in Hockenheim.
Well, let's head down to the pit lane. I think Ted is trying to find Jamie Chadwick.
Thank you very much, Claire. Yeah, live down here with Jamie as we walk back down to the garages. So, congratulations, Jamie. You're on pole for the first ever race of the W Series. How was it out there?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, it was good. It was obviously not too dissimilar to yesterday in terms of obviously the wet conditions, but a lot colder today, and we're out on new wets, so slippy initially. Had to manage that a little bit, but as the track and the tyres started to come, I was able to push on a bit more, and yeah, good session.
Where's that confidence come from?
I'm British, so I like the wet, but yeah, I think we've had a really good few months in the build up to this, so we've got momentum in our favour, and obviously yesterday going well for us really helped, and yeah, just feeling good in the car, comfortable, so hopefully we can have a good race later.
Pole's a great achievement. It's something you can enjoy for an hour or so, but the job is only half done, isn't it? It's going to be such a challenging race. What are your thoughts already on that? Best place to lead from the front.
Yeah, exactly. I think my thing going into this race weekend was obviously to be on pole. in the wet, the spray and everything. You don't want to be sat at the back of the pack. So yeah, done half the job, but a lot more to do this afternoon.
Many congratulations. Pole position, Jamie Chadwick. Great stuff.
Jamie Chadwick there, very, very chilled out as she hugs Catherine Bonmieux there, the CEO of W Series, just taking a couple of pictures as well. She's so chilled out. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I would be so excited by this point.
I think she's British with a little bit of Finnish in her. She's so chilled. And here they're talking to Annie Bradshaw, and Annie has a tremendous amount of experience in motorsport, having worked with her way back in my early Williams days. So great to see the team there getting together. And well, a few people will be unhappy with the overall finishing order, but otherwise, I think, other than Sarah Moore ending up in the gravel.
I will say, though, Esme Hawkey's never been in a single-seater car, and she's starting 9th on the grid. She tends to drive for the Porsche Carrera Cup in the UK, but she's starting 9th. She's going to be impressed, be very happy with that, isn't she?
Yeah, indeed. She will. You can see a little kick of oversteer there as coming through turn 1. That is tricky. That is definitely one of the more difficult corners because it's a very high-speed turn. And that was Sarah Moore there getting through that particular corner. And I think I credited her with the gravelly moment at turn 13, but it was Alice Powell.
Yes, it was. That's Fabienne Volvend getting all out of shape on the tarmac as well. Fabienne Volvend, someone that I know Jamie Chadwick's got pole position, but Fabienne was really impressive in this session, wasn't she?
Yeah, and I was talking to her after free practice yesterday, and just very focused as well. Maybe a little bit more excitable in her personality than Jamie, who's a bit more matter-of-fact. But I think that's as much a reflection of their current experience. And Jamie, familiar with this type of car from her previous racing. But, well, there you go. A bit of camaraderie has been built. And then, well, Jamie being interviewed with the circuit host broadcaster there. So the local German fans will certainly be getting familiar with her performance.
She will. They will indeed. We're all going to get used to it, I'm sure, because we're going to see the first ever race getting underway very shortly here at Hockenheim in a couple of hours' time. It is Jamie Chadwick that's going to start from pole position.
Happy, VT? Yep. Okay. All right, great. Just a single. Oh, hang on. Okay, here we go. Well, Fabienne, congratulations. It's P2, front row of the grid. How does that feel?
Amazing. It's going to be my first Formula 3 race, and I'm going to start from front row. And yeah, I can't describe the feeling. I can't believe it yet. And yeah, just super happy and excited.
Tell us about the lap that counted. Do you know which one it was?
I guess I know. Yeah, I really nailed that one. I was quite on the edge, so at some corners, but yeah, it was amazing.
What were the conditions like out there? Because it was wet, and then it dried out for a little bit, and then started raining again. Could you?
Yeah, in the beginning was really slippery, especially with the new tires, until we warmed it up a little bit, and then I really got into rhythm. It dried up a little bit, so I think then that was the time where I did my P2 lap time, and then it started raining again. So yeah, we had to adapt a little bit again, and yeah.
Okay, and thoughts for the race finally? Looking forward to a good fight with Jamie.
Yeah, of course, Jamie going to be a tough one. She has a lot of experience in Formula racing. Yeah, the start going to be interesting. Then we keep fighting.
Okay, it's a brilliant performance. Thank you very much.
So
Congratulations. Let me know, Harry, if you need just one quote. I'm just doing sort of three questions as standard, Helen. But if it gives you an issue, you'd prefer just one quote, then let me know. Okay, Sarah Moore next. Sarah Moore next.